Hello friends and welcome. So the challenge that I have been given and I have accepted is to design a sequence where we are not using any weight bearing or load bearing on our wrists. One of our new friends who just joined our Patreon community has carpal tunnel, and it's pretty inflamed right now, going in for surgery soon, and then there's a recovery period after that. So this is a sequence for not using the wrists and not weight bearing. Now you don't have to have sensitive wrists to do this sequence. Anyone can do this sequence, right? But it might be good to know a few of these things, especially if you do have sensitive wrists. I want to point one thing out and then we'll start to move. A lot of times in a lot of the sequences that I do, we do end up on hands and knees doing work from lunges or from cat-cows. So those classes are not necessarily out for you. I would say remember that you can come down onto forearms. Personally, if I've got a really solid pair of blocks, I like to be on blocks and be up a little bit higher. And you can still move through cat-cow. You can still move through all the core work that we do. You know, you might even play with the whole balance. So that makes it accessible and there's no weight in the wrists. You could also do that from the ground, right? Turning the palms down and stabilizing from that place. So again, I just simply want to point that out. When you're going into, any kind of standing pose, if I have someone put hands down on blocks, you might just take that piece out of it. So just remembering that I think the classes are more accessible than sometimes we realize. We get a little intimidated, but just taking care of your own body, even if I don't shout the command out, and remembering that, hey, I can still do this if I'm on my forearms or whatever that is. And bringing the yoga to you. I really do believe it's not that we become these yogis who do these poses in a very particular way. I believe that we bring yoga to us and we make it accessible so that we can do it where we're at on that day. So there's my lecture. Find yourself in an upright posture. That can be sitting cross-legged, sitting on a chair, kneeling, you name it. For just a few moments, bring your awareness into the points of contact you have with the floor. That's going to be different depending on your seated posture. But all of us probably have two buttocks bones reaching down into the ground or whatever we're sitting on, right? So go ahead and send those buttocks bones down, and as you send those buttocks bones down, it usually gives us that little bit of extra height, hopefully without being rigid. Scanning the body, releasing muscular tension. It's true. That's the most accessible. Most of us can feel tension in our muscles. We've come accustomed to feeling that, noticing that. My friends who've been doing this for a while, sensory awareness training, so that even if I say bring your awareness to your outer right shoulder, if you bring your awareness there, can you sense the energy that's moving through there? And if you're like, I don't know about this energy stuff moving through there, Crystal Joy Johnson, we have nerve endings, or 72,000 of them, that run out to all parts of our body, particularly our skin, right? The interesting thing is that our neurology, right, if we don't use a particular part or bring our awareness to a particular part of our body our whole lives, there's not a pathway moving there. But through this work, this sensory awareness training, as I continually bring my awareness to a part of my body, touch that part of the body, whatever that is, I start to make a path so that I become very used to, aware of, accustomed to all of the various parts of my body. Think of it as developing a really intimate relationship with your body. So just for giggles, bring your awareness to your left eyebrow. A felt sense of that area if you can, and if not, it's good to know, hey, I've got no feeling there. You might touch it with your fingers and then move your fingers away, and that will often give your nerves, right, that feedback. Your right ear. left shoulder, right foot, the sole of the foot. Let's go to the sole of the foot. And then if I were to say as our last one, your hands, the palm of your hands and your fingers, chances are great you've got a really good sense of the energy there because we use them every single day. Now, if any of my friends don't have, you can imagine that you have both of your hands and all your fingers, right? And play with that idea of that felt sense of the phantom limbs, or what part of your body do you use on a regular basis that your pathways are constantly firing, and feel the energy there. Inhale and open those eyes, and let's move a little bit. So we're going to start with just nice, light, and easy, since it is a wrist class. You know, look, ma, no hands. We're going to try and do no weight bearing, but we're going to still try and play a little bit with the area, hopefully in a really lovely, healing kind of a way. So interlacing the fingers, bringing the elbows towards each other. They do not have to touch. Go ahead and let the knuckles simply make a figure 8. Big or small, whatever works for you. And you know, I wouldn't go speeding through it. You can kind of find a pace that works for you and just feel it out. And if there's pain, I might avoid this. I've worked with 2 of my friends with pretty serious carpal tunnel, and they both liked this quite a bit. Go ahead and go the other way. I had one who one day she didn't want to do it because it didn't feel quite right, so we didn't. But usually they liked it, right? And then coming back to the center, uninterlace, and then go ahead and let you can bring your hands wherever you want them. I'm going to bring them up so you can see mine. Let your fingertips move as far apart as they possibly can, and back together. And move those fingertips apart, and squish them together. And then we're going to take our fingers and we're going to bring them down one knuckle at a time. We're going to try to fold them in on themselves and bring them down to the ball mounds of the fingers, I call that, and then slide them to the heel of the hand, and then slide them back up and unfurl them one little knuckle at a time. And then do that one more time, just for good measure. And then try the same thing with the thumbs. Let the thumbs come to the thumb pad, slide across to the outer pinky edge of the hand, and slide across. You can see my index fingers and stuff, I'll start to get involved. So I'm going to concentrate this time around on trying not to let my fingers move with it and letting it be solely the thumb. And I can't even look at the camera, you can tell I have to concentrate to try to make it happen. And slide across, and just go ahead and move those fingers around. Talk about neurological pathway missing. And then from there, this is a strengthener that hopefully feels all right. If you're crossing your legs, go ahead and cross your legs the other way. Right? And if it's okay to bring your hand onto your leg, you can do like I'm doing, but again, you could just do this from cross-legged and just be leaning down onto your leg. So working without weight, but still working in the wrist for strength, right? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my, let me mirror you. Let's have our right arm down. We're going to put our left hand on our right wrist. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to try and let that wrist dip down as far as it comfortably can. Right? And I'm isolating in the wrist. And then I'm going to act like I have a dumbbell in my hand, and I'm going to pull that weight up as high as I can without lifting my wrist. And go ahead and reach that back down. And go ahead and reach that back up. Again, if this seems like it's causing inflammation or pain, don't do it. We'll do one more. We're not going to do too many. And then we'll get out of the wrists after this one for a little bit. And then go ahead and let that go. You can move the wrist around if that feels nice. And then you'll bring your left arm onto your leg or some surface. You'll pin it down with the right hand. I'm not like hurting it, I'm just holding it in place so I don't let it come into my elbow, right? And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna let that dip down as far as it can. I'm gonna grab an imaginary 3-weight, I'm gonna say dumbbell, and then go ahead and I'm gonna pull that up. And of course, this is strengthening, yeah? It's contracting here and stretching on the other side. And then bring that back down, and now I'm contracting here and I'm stretching here and up. And let's do one more of those. Go ahead and move that down. Again, it might be just a really small movement in the beginning. And bring that back up. And then go ahead and again, you can move fingers or wrists if that feels okay. And let's leave that area alone for a little bit. So one more thing here from seated, and then we'll come on up. If you feel like you need to uncross and recross again, you're welcome to. Go ahead and bring your arms out. about parallel to the ground, but the elbows could drop lower if you've got shoulder issues. Take an inhale and exhale, turn to the right. Inhale back to center, and exhale, turn to the left. I want you to imagine your side waist is what's turning you in. Inhale, it is, but we're gonna try and isolate it in there a little more with our awareness, right? So we're gonna exhale over to the right, inhale back to center. My arms are moving slowly because my torso is turning. Exhale, I'm turning my torso with my side waist. Inhale back to front, and exhale, turning to the right. Inhale back, exhale, turning to the left. And come back through center and bring those hands down. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna actually come onto our back, and we're gonna do a few things on our back. I'll do one that's a standing sequence too, where we take out downward dogs and all of that stuff. So just know that there are going to be 2 in this sequence of look ma, no hands. And this one is going to be a little bit more floor based, right? So I'm not using my wrists. If I grab my backs to my thighs, or if I just reach the arms forward and roll down, that way I get a little bit of core. Oh, I'm going to turn my position so my mic is closer to camera so you guys can hear me better, hopefully, right? And then from there, go ahead and bring the right knee into the chest, and exhale, bring that down. Inhale, left knee into the chest, and exhale, bring that down. I just have my arms by my side right now. Inhale, right knee into the chest, and exhale down. Inhale, left knee into the chest. And you can let the spine round for this one. We'll take that out in a second. And exhale, bring that down. So now we're gonna try and keep our spine neutral. There's a wee bit of space beneath my low back, right? My low belly tones in, and I'm gonna bring that right knee back in. It probably won't go as far. I'm not rounding this time. Exhale, right knee down. And we're gonna add on to this in a second, by the way. Bring that left knee in, again, without changing the position of the lower back or the sacrum, or the pelvis, I should say. Bring that down. Now that might be plenty, and you might just keep doing that. You might bring your right leg up in a tabletop this time, knee above hip, heel directly up from knee. Exhale, bring that down. Inhale, left leg comes up in a tabletop. My pelvis and my low back still are not changing position, and bring that back down. So what do I need to turn on to allow that to happen, right? As my right hip lifts, my right leg lifts, my right hip wants to drop, and my low back wants to arch, and bring that down. So how do I prevent those 2 things from happening? Play with that for yourself, right? As the left leg comes up, don't let the left hip drop. Don't let the low back overarch. And bringing that back down. And maybe you have a different body type, but that's almost all bodies that I work with. That's the case for this one, right? And bring that right leg up, and you're gonna hold it there, keep it there. Bring that left leg up, hold it, and keep it there. My belly wants to dome up to the sky so bad. And it does move up just a touch, right? But I'm not gonna let it fly up towards the sky and let my low back go into extra what's called lordosis, an extra arch. It has plenty of arch all by itself. Now from there, we're gonna go ahead and maybe, we bring that right heel down, leaving the left leg up, right? Arms can be by the side. And this happens from my hinge at my hip, not at my knee or my ankle. And I bring that back up. And exhale, my left heel might come down towards the ground. Again, let me do that from the hinge at the hip and bring that back up. We've got one more of those, and then we'll take a break. Let that right heel reach down. Keep that low belly tone. Don't let the right hip drop. Inhale, right leg up. Last one. Exhale, left heel might come down towards or to the ground. Doesn't matter if it touches. And bring that back up. Let's bring both knees in. If your wrists don't want to, they can stay right where they are. If it feels like it'd be really delightful to bring the hands up and interlace, again, you're not weight bearing, right? You're just using them to hold the legs in place. Whatever works for you. Maybe rocking just a little bit from side to side. And then adding a little bit of core in here as well, right? And by core, there's a few different things turning on, but we're mainly working in the abdomen right now. Go ahead and tee the arms out, palms up. Let those legs start near the chest, whatever that means in your body, just meaning you're not in tabletop. And go ahead and start to move into that rocking motion we just did. Start pretty small, but then start to progressively get a little bigger with it. The objective is not to get to the ground, but keep the knees together, right? And as I bring my legs back up, when I go to the left, my right side waist has to work. And when I go over to the right, my left side waist, right, is bringing me back up. So here we are in the obliques again. And then you might just simply continue to go with that. If you'd like to intensify, you're going to bring your legs in a tabletop position. Keep the ankles and the knees glued together and go into the same motion, trying not to let the shoulders lift up off the ground today for this version today. That's not always the case, right? Remember, I can teach something probably about 25 to 50 different ways, depending on what we're trying to find. And the knees don't have to go anywhere near the earth. As a matter of fact, I'd rather have the knees stay together and not have one knee slide back from the other. I think that is more effective at deepening the strength in the muscles we're working in, more so than getting them all the way to the floor. And then when you feel like you're complete with that, again, bring those knees into the chest, either interlace or just leave the arms down on the ground, whatever works for you. And let's put our hands on our kneecaps and circle the knees together and get a full circle, aka massage, in that low back and sacrum area. Going the other way. And then let's leave the right knee in and put the left foot on the ground, just for good measure. Interlace behind the right thigh and push that right heel up to the sky. Pulling those toes back down, bring that right foot down to the ground, bring the left knee in, interlace behind the thigh. Again, this is assuming it's okay with your wrists, and push that heel up. I find it much harder on wrists to grab a strap and try to work with a strap than to interlace behind the thigh. So if we're ever in a class where we're working with the strap, you can feel free to choose to do that, or just have your arms by your side. Put that left foot down on the ground and just pause for a moment. Okay, so we're going to do one more little thing, and then we're going to call it a day on this short little video. Again, I'll try to continue to make, I'll make 2 for sure in this particular sequence, but then I'll try to add bits and pieces in as well through the coming weeks. So if it's okay to interlace your hands behind your head, take an inhale, and then with an exhale, you're going to pull your belly down to the ground, flatten your spine, right? Take an inhale here with the spine still flat, and then in your next exhale, push the low belly down so much it lifts the upper body. Let the shoulder blades participate, let the head lay in the hammock of the hands, and you're going to hold here for just a moment. Now, just to get a little stretch here, you're going to let your left elbow slide back towards the back of the mat, and then come back through center. And then let your right elbow slide back to the back of the mat. So my elbows don't go higher or lower than what they start when I'm in the middle. They stay at that same height, right? But I go ahead and I do a side crunch to the right and then a side crunch to the left. And yes, that's abdominal work, but now I'm going to talk about if you soften the muscles of the neck when you do this. When my left elbow reaches back, my left palm kind of pushes my head and I end up with my head gently turning to the left. I'm not turning my head. I'm simply letting go of the muscles and letting the head go where it naturally turns with this motion. Yeah? And once you feel complete with that, whenever that is for you, you're going to come back through center, lay the body back down. Go ahead and walk your feet a little wide and lean the knees in. You're going to bring your arms up and hug yourself, right arm closer to the face than the left, and you might just pause there. You might do full eagle arms where you wrap the forearms around and grab onto the pad of the thumb. Again, that just depends on wrists and forearms, the size of your shoulders, whether or not you've got a deep ball and socket joint in your shoulders, etc., right? So don't get mad if you can't do it. And if your wrists are like, no way, then just hug yourself. Maybe those elbows, for any version, lift a little off the chest and a little up to the sky. Take one breath there. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to let those arms come all the way out. We're going to cross with the left arm closer to the right and either simply hug or maybe do the forearm wrap towards eagle arms. Both versions, we have the possibility of lifting the elbows off of the chest and up towards the sky, and we breathe from there. And I'm showing the other version this time, not the eagle arm version. And then go ahead and let those arms come down a little bit out from the side, palms up, close the eyes. Breathe. And so this one wasn't a very intense, right? It was just a little bit of opening and getting in and definitely working some of our abdominals. And as you soften down into the floor, allowing that body, pardon me as I yawn, allowing that body to unwind.
Bring your awareness back to your breath. If you want to wiggle the fingers, maybe lift the hands off the ground. Elbows can still be grounded, and just circle those wrists a couple of times if that's feeling good to you today. Maybe stretch those arms overhead. And let's roll over to the left. And then, if it hurts to push the floor away with the hand here, you could always come onto a fist and try it from the fist to push up. And then as I say that, the other one that might be a better option for you is the teeter-totter, and I'll show that just in case. And you can do this any class, right? The heels reach up. They can be bent, that's fine. And I pull my low belly in. I normally have people sit on wrists, but if you have carpal tunnel, that's not gonna feel good. So you just put your arms by your side, right? I like to let my elbows go out a little wide. And then from there, I push into my elbows as I drop my feet down, and then I'm not bearing any weight in my wrists as I come up. So come into a seated posture, whatever that is for you at the end of class here. Sit up nice and tall. Bring those hands together in front of the chest. Take a big ol' inhale. Exhale, bow the head. Sorry for all my yawning. And just taking a moment there. Just a little bit of gratitude. And even when we have, whether it's carpal tunnel or, whatever the issues are that our bodies have going on, we still have these beautiful bodies and we still are able to be mobile, right? So just being so grateful for them. Namaste, friends. And look for your second installment of Look Ma, No Hands. If not the end of this week, I'll have it the beginning of next week. And in that one, again, we'll explore more standing poses and things when we're up on our feet, not bearing weight in our wrists. Be well, friends, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.